Doc, in case you didn't notice, tomorrow is September 11th. As, two of the most senior people on the NX2 staff, I figured, we were more affected by September 11th than, say, Erica, who says she was, quote, 4 years old when it happened. So I was wondering if you wanted to tell everybody, about the day and what happened, because I know, our circumstances might have been a little different than Logan's circumstances, because we were in the newspaper business and you were an EMT, so it probably affected you more than somebody who just watched it on TV.
Well, I guess I could tell you, what happened. At the time, I was sleeping on my father's couch, I'll be honest. And as we were poor and in our 20s. And so I was there, and my father came home from his mail run, and he told, he woke me up. He said, "Hey, a plane hit the Twin Towers." And I remember the first thing, I wiped the sleep out of my eyes and I looked out the window. It was just a perfect day. It was beautiful. There was little puffy cumulus clouds. I mean, it was just a perfect day. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, well, there must have been some kind of, mechanical failure or pilot error or something must have gone horribly wrong for a plane to have hit the tower. And then the second one hit. And then I knew that it wasn't, an accident. And then, of course, we saw the reports that the plane had hit the Pentagon. And then there was the plane that nobody really knew exactly where it was, that had crashed out in western part of the state. And, it felt like they were zeroing in on us, like it was all around us here in Northeast PA. And I remember I went to work. At the time, I was working part-time at the Pocono Record and then part-time at Digital Benchmarks, which was a kind of a camera testing and evaluation company. And they gave me the option of going home, but I said, I'll stay. And then our ambulance tones went off. And it said, just respond to your station, Captain 21, the comm center, which in radio parlance means, to call into the communications center and get your assignment. Mm-hmm. And I always told my crew, that if anything really big happened in New York City, that we weren't far enough. We were far enough away that we wouldn't get called into the city, but we might get called in to cover outside areas and stuff. So because as units get pulled into a large event, it leaves the area surrounding it empty, and then more people have to move into cover that area. And I'll never forget, I went down to the station, and every single crew member I had, every single one of them that could have been there was there. And I never had felt so proud of my crew because they were all ready to go. They all thought we were going to go into the city to help. They thought we were going to do something. But I called into the comm center and they told me that some idiot had called in bomb threats all over the county at different places. And so they were having all the ambulance crews and fire companies staged at their stations in case anything happened. I remember getting off the phone and everyone was kind of gathered around, and I turned around and I told them, and they were crestfallen. They wanted to help. They wanted to do something to help. And we're the people that you call when things are bad. We're not ones that sit and watch on television. We're the ones you call. And I to this day, I've never been more proud of my crew than it was that day. And, knowing that there were, EMTs and paramedics that died at the bottom of the towers when they fell, that really bothered me for a long time. A week later, at the paper, I went to work at my other job. We had like I spent a week just like taking pictures of flags. You know, it was surreal in Stroudsburg. You know, everyone had a flag. There was a car that was driving up and down Main Street that had a giant American flag attached to the back, and then it was blasting out Lee Greenwood. God bless the USA. And it was just the surrealness of the whole thing, that everybody was together on this. And since then, I can't recall a time when we've all been so together on something. It was really, a transformative time. Nobody, especially like, people like Erica, it's something that they've read about, they've heard about, they know it, but they weren't there. So they really don't get the gist of what it was like to be in that moment.
Yeah, I always equate it to like Pearl Harbor. How our generation, the younger generation, we never understood, the impact that Pearl Harbor had. Whereas someone like my grandparents, like they remember that day specifically of, somebody attacking American soil. And I always equate that with September 11th because, in a couple of generations' time, they're not going to understand the impact that, you and I felt when that day occurred.
So what was your day like?
I was working at the newspaper. So like you, I was asleep at the time. I woke up because at least 3 or 4 people were trying to call me and my phone just kept ringing. And I'm like, why are you people calling me right now? And my friend Kelly, she left a voicemail saying, oh, something's happening in New York. Is your father okay? Because my father worked in New York City at the time. And then my mom called and said, oh, something's happening in New York. You better call right away, And she's like, yeah, somebody attacked the Twin Towers. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, haven't you been watching TV? And she's like, well, a plane ran into the Twin Towers and you were asleep during it. So I turned on the TV just to watch I think it was the second tower that fell first. I turned it on just in time to see it fall. And it was surreal. Like I had people contacting me who I haven't talked to in months or years asking if my father was okay. I couldn't get in touch with my father at all. And then, I went to the newspaper to do my nightly shift and it was chaos. Like I was young copy editor. It was my second job in the newspaper business. And I've never experienced a night like that. Like it was just like the whole entire newsroom was up and just barking orders and this and that. And I just remember the one thing that I remember that night is I had to find photos to put in the newspaper. And you're right. It was such a gorgeous day, so all the photos were amazing. It was hard. You had to put yourself out of, it was an out of body experience almost. You had to not think about it as you're picking photos and trying to put it. And I never did get in touch with my father. He was okay. He works uptown, so he was nowhere near it. He said he watched the towers fall from the roof of his building that he was working at, but he was stuck in the city for a couple of days. My mom got a tattoo that night because her response was, well, if the world's going to hell, I might as well get a tattoo. And I'm like, well, that's a good rationale, Mom.
Nice, Mrs. Lindars.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think I'll ever experience something like that again. It was just crazy, insane, heart-wrenching. Every time I watch footage, like my heart just clenches because it's just like all those people, all those lives, it hurts.